Good evening, everybody. I hope you are doing well. This is a really important presentation on the next stage of our class, which is probably the most difficult, and that's doing the research paper. Okay, so if we're in here and I go to our content page, there's some important things I want to show you. Okay, the first thing I want to start with is our schedule. I made a couple changes on here to try to give you some more time for this research paper project. Okay, so what I've done is as follows. Okay, so this week you got the research, the first essay 2 done. Okay, there'd be no homework then for the next couple of weeks, I guess 9 days or 11 days or whatever, from here the 12th into the 23rd. Okay, but there really is a research paper rough draft to write, I should say. Okay, so these are the important dates, all right? So the 25th, I moved this back. It originally was the 23rd, but I'm moving it back to the 25th before 11:59, the research paper rough draft, which I'll talk about the research paper in this talk. All right, to D2L by Monday by 11:59 p.m. on the 26th. So that'll give me 24 hours to read them all and comment them all and post that on D2L, the feedback for you. So you will get all the feedback you need, and then you will basically have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and most of the day Saturday then to do the revision piece. All right, and I sort of pushed this back past what they'll consider to be the last day of summer school, just to try to give you an extension, but mainly because it's an online class and it's not in person, we can stretch that a little bit. My grades aren't due until Monday the 2nd. So if you guys turn these in by midnight on Saturday, then I can grade them all day on Sunday. So I was just trying to stretch things out to give you a little bit more time. Because summer is so compressed and so difficult to get through in some ways and moves so quickly that I was trying to figure out ways in the last couple of days to give you more time to do it. Okay, so that is our next big due date. This is research paper rough draft. All right, now on our content page, okay, I've also posted some new stuff that's really important in this research paper rubric. Okay, so this is the requirements for the research paper. Okay, and a lot of these requirements are things that I have to adhere to. I don't have a lot of I think maybe it'd be better if I just do this from the desktop. Okay, probably easier to see. I like it better this way. Okay, so this rubric is for the research paper. All right, you would pick a topic that you've chosen. I will show you a link to a page I think has a lot of good topics. If you have any questions or concerns about your topic, you can email me about that and we can talk through it. Okay, it should be an informative paper. And I have a sample paper that I'm gonna go over a little bit with you that I think will help you through this. Okay. But there's some real requirements here. Okay. There's the technical part where it has to have a good title, page numbers. It has to be written in 12-point Times New Roman font, double spaced. And it does have to be 7 to 10 pages in length. That's 7 pages of text. It's not 6 pages of text plus a works cited page. These are hard and fast rules given to me from Oakton. I think they're actually rules set down for community colleges in the state for people to get an associate's degree or to take this English 102 class. They have to write a research paper of that length. Okay, so for me, it has to be a minimum of 7 pages text plus a works cited page. A works cited page does not count as a page of text. A paper written in 20-point font does not count as 7 pages of text. It has to follow these rules. All right. So there would be an intro with a thesis that sets the context for the paper, as in the sample paper I will show you. Proper body paragraph structure, as in the sample paper, with a conclusion, with transition, and we're working at limiting our use of first person. Okay. And that I want that. I've seen it a lot in the first 2 essays you've written. You can throw in an I or me every once in a while, maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire paper, not 3 or 4 times in a paragraph. Okay? MLA citations, the citations are correct. The works cited page is correct. Every quote is cited. Every paraphrase is cited. Okay. Sources. All sources are from the EBSCO sources or books. Okay. So in a lot of ways, the big aspects of this paper really are about a couple things for me. Citation is huge. Citing all your sources properly, and then learning what good sources are. Research paper writing can be difficult for students because most of the time you're asked to analyze a book like in high school, or I had you analyze Citizen Kane, right? Or you were analyzing those articles. In this paper, you're presenting information in a certain way, and the sample paper will show you how to do that. It's a little bit different because it seems repetitive. It's almost like you're a talk show host where you're introducing your sources, your guests to people and saying what these guests have and so forth. It's a little bit of different writing. It confuses people in some way because you're really presenting other people's information. You're not really presenting your own analysis of it, not until the end of the paper. You sort of hint at what your take on it is in your thesis, but then the body of the paper is really presenting the research, the experts on the subject. And then at the end, in the conclusion, you can kind of step in and give your opinion. But the huge part of the paper, mostly the 6 pages, so to speak, of the 7 required, are really presenting your sources and your information. And those sources have to be scholarly. They have to be written by people that have credibility. Okay, and that's what you get in EBSCO. And that's why I really want you to use those. Okay. All right, the content, a very clear thesis that answers our research questions, 20 citations in the form of paraphrases and direct quotes. Quality of information is presented in a clear and intelligent manner. Grammar. Okay, we talked about awkward sentences, wordy sentences. I pointed those out to you in your papers from Essay 1, and then by the end of probably by late tomorrow, I'll have all of Essay 2 done, and you can reflect more. And you'll have 2 papers from which to reflect on sentences and feedback from me as you gear up for this big one. Okay? No cutting and pasting. Okay? It has to be in your own words. There cannot be any matches, okay, to other content from another source without a proper citation. That'll come up on Turnitin.com. All right, the due dates we've talked about. All right, now, one of the things I strongly suggest for you, okay, is this extra credit opportunity, all right, where you can ask a librarian and you can have a research consultation, okay? I believe they are doing these virtually, and that's the link to it, okay? Do this right away, okay? These are all day, all right? What I strongly suggest is this, okay? And I'm going to refer to this a couple of different times to kind of give you sort of a point of reference. Today's the 14th, okay? Tomorrow, pick a topic, okay? Make an appointment for research consultation as soon as you can in here. Those research consultations, if you have a topic that you're interested in, the librarian will help you to find all the information you will need. Now, here's one really important thing. You may want to write this down and remember it. After you have the consultation, have the librarian email me at my sbalf@oakton.edu email address and tell he or she to send me an email saying you had the consultation, and I'll give you extra credit and I'll add it to your final research paper. Okay, now things move very quickly. Today's the 14th. Have the topic picked here. Set up a time actually tonight or tomorrow for have a research consultation on Monday. Okay, have your topic ready to go. You go to that consultation. If you have one of those consultations and you explain to the librarian that you want, to be told how to find sources on EBSCO, they will help you find those sources for your paper very quickly. Okay? And then that leaves you, again, this is compression. It's compressed. It's tight because it's summer. I tried to push that back. Okay. So if you have all your sources in tow, okay, and you read these sources and organize them on the 20th, that gives you 5 days to write it. So if you have a 7-page paper, it's like 14 paragraphs. If you can start in here and just do 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs a day, you'll get the rough draft done by this midnight deadline. Okay, now here's the thing. You can even move quicker than that if you want to. You could have the consultation if you make the appointment tonight, decide on a topic tonight, you got to get rolling. Okay? The difficult thing about these research papers, okay, is this. It's very hard to do it all starting on the morning of the 25th. Okay, the whole procrastination thing. Now, I get it. Some people work, some people have busy schedules. If you still try to sneak it in and do piecemeal, get yourself writing by here and you can get this done. If you start it this morning and try to do it in like 12 hours, it's hard to do. It's not like writing that Citizen Kane paper, which is an important paper. All right, this one you have to add in so many different sources, so many resources, so many citations that it takes much longer. Okay, it's very difficult to do that in one day. All right, and that's where people get sort of burned. But this is the thing I want you to remember. Okay, if you meet this deadline of 11:59 p.m. on the 25th, then on the 26th by midnight, you get the feedback from me. If you get a complete 7-page draft and the 8th page is the works cited page, I read it and give you comments on it. I'll basically tell you in those comments what you have to fix in order to get an A. So meeting this deadline, and you get 75 points for reaching that deadline of having the 7 pages of text and the 1-page works cited page. You get a 75 out of 75 on that for completing the rough draft. But then you get this feedback, and that's the key. You get the feedback from like an editor, which will be me, and then you 1, 2, 3, 4, essentially 5 days to do the revision before that Saturday night deadline for the final draft. So that's why hitting this deadline on the 25th is so important, because then you get feedback from me. You get completion points, and then you get feedback on every aspect of the paper. Okay, and that's the key to doing well on this assignment. I've been teaching this class for 13 years. I've always done this rough draft thing. Okay, my old department chair told us to do this, and I've done it my first time I taught 102 and every time since. Okay, meeting that deadline is essential, okay, because you get the feedback from me. So I want to stress to you to meet that deadline, to get the paper done by then, to do it a little bit at a time, get going right away tomorrow morning, making an appointment, doing your research. Have that consultation. The librarians are the people that you need to, or that are your, the librarians are your go-to people. They know how to find stuff, and they're very talented. They've been really kind of the most valuable players, so to speak, for me on these projects. They're the go-to people that help my students because they'll help you find the stuff that you need. Okay? So please use it. All right. Now, okay. So I've also provided this link on our content page to this 113 great research paper topics. Now, it is kind of for a high school, but I think it's really, this link is on our content page, okay? But I really like the overview that this provides, okay? And these tips, do pick something you're interested in. I think that's so important. A paper is always easier to write if you're interested in the topic and motivated to do it, okay? And this in bold here is really important. Don't feel tempted to make it your topic unless you generally have some sort of interest in it as well. And that's the key, all right? People do better on this when they pick something that they want to do, that they're interested in. Then you have an innate motivation to write about it, okay? Is there enough information on your topic, okay? This is another reason why that consultation is so important, all right? If you have some kind of an obscure paper topic and you go to that consultation with a librarian, you'll come out of it with a better understanding of whether or not you can do that topic. You may switch in the middle of conference, in the middle of the consultation. You may adjust on your feet, okay? that's fine. That's why the consultation is so important. That's why I stress doing it right away. Right? It fits my guidelines. You know what the rubric is. Okay. And so down here, then you have all these different topics. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but I really like this page just to get people thinking of sort of like subjects. Okay. You have arts and culture. Everything, how has rap evolved in the past decade, right? I had somebody last fall write this paper I really liked about Led Zeppelin, the rock group. It was an informative paper about them. He found great sources. He read this really interesting book that was really well written, and he used it a lot in his paper. And he did a great job of a research paper on the genesis of Led Zeppelin, the influences on the members of Led Zeppelin, how they became influences on musicians since they were in existence and broke up around 1980 for the last 30 years, how they've influenced different rock groups. So that's an example. Read through these. I'm not going to bore you and read through each of them. I'm going to go through some of the categories though. And this, I think, is a good page because it gives you sort of like a good sort of panorama of the different types of things that you can pick. Current events. Okay. All right. You know, things that are going on in the world today. The Black Lives Matter movement. All right. Immigration laws. All right. Of course, it'd be something having to do with COVID right now. All right. How COVID-19 affected the economy. Things like that. I want to be clear about something. It doesn't have to be on something from this page. It can be, of course. But what I want you to do is sort of use this. If you want one of these topics, of course, use these. But it should help you to propel thought, to motivate you to think about different things as you go through these. Education, all right. This whole issue of standardized testing, something you guys have gone through, right? That whole now that is a lot of schools are doing away with taking ACT and SAT tests for admissions. Okay, so you compare education, ethics. So I like this again, this website because it has so many different topics on it. All right, how can we lower the number of gun-related deaths in the United States? That's an ethical question. All right, other questions, stem cell research. It's very controversial. Stem cell research, where they get different researching from, fetus of babies and so forth. And it's all these different ethical questions and research that, right? They go from government to health to history, right? Ideas about religion, the environment, technology, right? And of course, these social media questions, right? And of course, there's the whole the way in which Google and Facebook and all these different companies, mine our data on our cell phones to sell us things and so forth. The ethical questions having to do with that. There's even ethical questions inside technology. So if you want a place to start, okay, is to start here. All right. And down here are some great tips to figure out your thesis early. Back every statement up with research. And this is key too. That's why that consultation is so important. Do your research before you begin writing. You have to. And be careful too and make sure that you read over your research carefully. Right? That you're not just copying and pasting. One of the things where you guys have a great advantage over me when I was writing research papers a really long time ago, I won't say how long ago, you can find the information really quick, but then people have a tendency to skim over the information. Get going quickly, read over your information, educate yourself on your topic. When I was doing research in the 80s and 90s, centuries ago, in high school and in college, the basic premise is that you had to read these things very carefully because the information was hard to get a hold of. You had to look through actual magazines and literary journals and scholarly journals and read the actual physical copy in your hand and page through articles and read them to find the ones you wanted to use. All right. So we were like detectives where we had to do a lot of footwork and legwork to find out what we needed and to gain this inside information. You guys get the information real quickly, but we have a tendency nowadays to skim too much. Make sure you slow down and read your research before you start writing your paper. You'll educate yourself more on your topic, and you'll sound that way when you write your paper. Okay? So use this page. If you're stuck on a topic, send me an email. I can give a back and forth with you and give you suggestions. I'm also pretty good at framing things. Okay? Now, right. And then I've given you this sample research paper. And that's here. I'm going to take it again from the desktop because it looks better up on the screen here. Oh, that looks okay. You want to see my face. You want to see this. Okay, so I'm not going to read this whole paper to you, but this paper, I think I'm always searching for models, examples for students to use. And this is one of the better ones I found for 102. Now, I do teach high school. Oakton's a part-time job for me, and I enjoy it immensely. I do teach full-time at a high school. And so one of the things I believe in with all my writers, from freshmen all the way up to my college students, is in giving you examples, models, things to follow. All right. And I think that this paper, I would strongly suggest reading through this paper. There's some things I'm going to point out to you. There's some things I want you to make sure that you understand. Okay. But this is a great example of an informative research paper. Okay. And again, in a recording, I'm not going to sit here and read the entire thing to you. All right. I strongly suggest reading it and sort of seeing how Mr. Friedman structures this paper. Okay. And making sure that you see the structure of the paragraphs. The introduction has the thesis. Each body paragraph has a topic sentence. A topic sentence is a research in the form of a direct quote or a paraphrase that backs that up. You see the proper title, okay, page numbers with the last name and page number, and it's an insert header in Google Docs, for example. My name, English 102. The due date would be 31 July 2021. Okay, all of these formatted, and we always use MLA citation in English classes. Okay, and these are some notations that I made, which I apologize for. Read this introduction, okay? It's a very clearly stated, informative paper on this topic of idea of how assisted reproductive technology has changed the definition of the family. This is the way a research paper should be written. It has an intro with a thesis. Okay, it has body paragraphs. It has a footnote here, which is fine. Don't get caught up on that. But this is the kind of paragraph, all right, which I just want to show you a couple of things. I don't want to bore you to tears, but I strongly suggest looking at these paragraph structures and emulating the way in which a research paper writing is, which I think that this paper does so well. It says, as Mary Lyndon Shanley points out, genetic relationships with families creates a sense of genetic continuity through the generations and is vitally important to many people's identity, which is why people want to know who their biological parents are. So this is a topic sentence, and then it has research that backs it up. Okay? So anytime you make a claim in a topic sentence, you have to, in this paper, research has to back it up. Okay? And that's what it said on that 113 topic page. Okay? You always back up a statement with research. This is a direct quote. Okay? Now, this is taken from Miss Shanley, writing. So this is from a book. Okay, so it just has the page 268 in it. That is a direct quote. This next one here, okay. I don't know. This next set of information, we seem almost unable to see a child with his or her parents without looking for a resemblance between them. A lack of resemblance between parents and children can be a source of stigma. This is a paraphrase. This is information that Mr. Freeman, the writer of this paper, took and put into his own words, but it's somebody else's information. Okay? So that's what I want you to do when you write your paper, when you're presenting the research. I want you to have a mix of direct quotes like this and information. Now, remember, any information that appears in a body paragraph in the text of your paper must, or I will fail you, okay? I'm being serious. If it's in the body of the paper, it then has to be on the works cited page. So we have Mr. or Miss or Mr. Monday, Miss or Mr. Monday, whoever wrote this, and then we have Miss Shanley. Then we go all the way down to the works cited page. We have Monroe, and we have Shanley. Whatever appears in the body, in the paragraphs of your papers, ladies and gentlemen, has to show up on the works cited page. So this, if it does not, you could be charged with plagiarism. Also, to be very clear, no paragraph in the body of your paper should be absent of citations. Okay? So this here is also another paragraph where if you don't have an author, you use the title. If the title is really long, you just sort of use the first one, the title, and you put in quotation marks. So we look down to our works cited page. Okay. All right, it's a CNN report. Okay, but since it's the title of something, there's no author, you put in quotation marks for the title of it. All right. So every body paragraph should have at least 2 parenthetical citations. Okay, this is what a parenthetical citation is. Okay, in parentheses, Monroe and Monroe 553, that's a parenthetical citation. That is telling you that this information here I paraphrased. Okay, then Monroe and Monroe are on your works cited page. I know this is dizzying, but I want you to see that everything, okay, appears on the works cited page. All right. All right. Now, a couple things that I'm remembering while I'm talking. And you use this. Use EasyBib to make your works cited page. Okay. It's called EasyBib. You're going to use the MLA format. It will help you construct your works cited page. Okay. These things will help. So that's easybib.com. Don't forget, I think I mentioned this before, for citation, OWL at Purdue. All right. Is a big help as well for any citation questions. Remember, we always use MLA formatting. Okay, now back to our research paper, sample paper. Okay, now at the beginning of this paper, the writer states his thesis, okay, which is that the definition of what a family is has changed due to people using such different ways in which to reproduce through technology, adoption, and so forth. Okay, throughout the entirety of this text, he's backing that up and he's researching that question, how the family's changed, how we define the family has changed. Okay, all right. Then, and this is what I want you to remember, at the end of the paper, in the conclusion, he returns to that with this topic sentence: assisted reproductive technology has many unintended consequences. Now, here's the thing. You can have a thesis at the beginning, which is sort of your opinion. What you're doing in research paper writing, you guys, is though in the body of the paper, okay, for those 6.5 pages between the intro and the conclusion, you're presenting all the research. What you're doing when you presented all that research is establishing your own credibility as a writer, as the researcher. That I've read this research, here are the sources, here's what I have found. And you're establishing this ethos of credibility, okay, with your audience. Then at the end, you can come back in and it's sort of like a bookend. The intro with the thesis says what your thesis is or the conclusion you've drawn. Then there's this great body of research, and at the end, you bookend it with a conclusion. And the conclusion becomes more powerful in your own words because you spent the entire paper presenting these great sources, the cutting edge research on this topic, and so forth. The great sources like EBSCO. All right. And then you have it all together at the end. So you can read this over, and it's very clear what he does. All right. And again, I would strongly suggest reading this entire thing. Use this as a model. Look at how he constructs the body paragraphs with a topic sentence that asserts something from a source, quotes that source, goes to another source, and paraphrases more information. Remember that idea that every topic sentence or every assertion, which is what you do in a topic sentence, is assert something about your topic, has to be backed up with research. There's never a paragraph in the middle of the body of a research paper, a body paragraph, I should say, that does not have a parenthetical citation, at least two per body paragraph, and mix it up like one direct quote, one paraphrase, because you have to have that information in there. If you don't, it's not done correctly because this paper is run by the research. Okay? And that's the key. This is a good example. It's a model. Read it over, study it, and see kind of to give you an idea of what I'm looking for. If I don't provide these, it's too just abstract. They're out in the netherworld that people really can't grasp. That's why over my career, what I've learned as a writing instructor is to give people something that they can look at, they can analyze for themselves, and they can see something they can emulate or sort of follow. You're not going to write this paper. You're not going to turn in this paper because this paper is submitted to Turnitin.com anyway. I submitted it as something for me so nobody could ever use it. But the idea is that you have something to look at and to shoot for and to see what I'm looking at. And his writing is very clear and concise and to the point. And remember, that's what you want to be, direct. All right? Okay. It's very doable, but I also think that this schedule is important. So you have 11 days between tonight when I post this thing and then tomorrow make a consultation. Make a consultation on the 15th. Try to make it for here. Try to get one in tomorrow. Make one tonight. Think of a topic tonight and get going. Okay? All right? It's quick moving, but that's the way summers are. All right? And the most important thing, okay, is to go back to, I'm sorry, that's not the one. I implore you to look at this sample paper. All right? I think it will help you immensely. All right? And when we're working through this process, if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay? But again, remember that draft you're finishing for the research paper rough draft due date does not have to be perfect because you will be getting feedback from me, but it just has to be complete. The 7 pages, and what's really important is you have to have the works cited page. I need to see that in order to give you really good feedback. All right? As long, and this is what I want you to remember, as long as you meet that deadline for the rough draft and you get the feedback from me, everything will be fine. Okay? All right. I think there's one other thing I wanted to point out to you, okay, on our schedule that I think I might have forgotten. It's a really important. All right. Okay, is this. All right, so we don't have any due dates for a while because you have all this stuff you're working on. Okay, and then this last week, and remember that final research paper is there due, and then this. Any and all missing work must be submitted before that too. So really, anything else that might be missing and so forth also has to be submitted. And remember, the rough draft of the research paper, final draft of the research paper, and all the work for the class has to be submitted to D2L as a requirement. Okay, I hope you guys have a great night. Please let me know if you need anything while you're in this process. And remember, the key to this whole thing working is not to procrastinate. All right? All right, take care. Have a nice night.